Good morning, my friends. Hello, hello. How you doing? Time for a quick wardrobe adjustment. It's a bit cold in my room this morning, that's for sure. It was a good frost last night. Probably the first decent one for the winter here. So welcome. It is 26th of May, 2021. We have a full lunar blood moon, super moon eclipse happening about 11:30 tonight my time, and it's 9 now, so 13 and a half hours or something like that. I'll be broadcasting in, that was 10:30, so yeah, a little bit longer, 14 hours, let's say the eclipse is happening, or will be at its maximum 14 hours. The good thing about lunar eclipses is they take a couple of hours to work their way through, and it is relatively slow when it goes into its blood moon phase. It's there for a good, I can't even remember, about 20 minutes or so at least in that thing. So it's not a sort of a blink and you'll miss it event. Anyway, we'll be doing a live stream light language session in the first half of the eclipse, so culminating with the maximum, basically, so I can go to bed because I'm starting at 10:30 p.m. and we'll run through till about whatever that is, 11:45, nearly midnight by the time I'm wrapped up, and then of course I'll be as high as a kite and won't be able to sleep for a while. Hey Jane. So here we are. This is our regular chat with Matt. Not necessarily talking about the full moon, although we might a little, and what it really means. Awesome opportunity here to shake loose a little bit of perception around truth, what is right and what is wrong, structures, rules, all that sort of stuff. All the stuff has been very, very topical on our planet for the last couple of years. This is an awesome opportunity to further that process of it breaking down, and not just breaking down out there in the external world, not just our political structures and our educational structures and our legal structures and our financial structures all having, massive transformation, but internally, this is an awesome opportunity for us to shake up and allow the dissolution of some of the rules and the truths and your beliefs, right? Your beliefs of what is true and what is a definite rule to be loosened a little bit, so that we're not trying to do the world in such a rigid way, which is basically that rigidity is built in the old paradigm, right? It's built in the past. It's built in the training, the education that we've had either through experience or a dedicated education attempt to lock us into what is right and what is wrong, what you can do and what you can't do, what you should do and what you shouldn't do. All of that has to loosen up so that we can really embrace the new earth energies. And I don't really like new earth because it's sort of but nor do I really get too caught up in 3D 5D type debate, but the opportunity that's coming, this new paradigm, the age of Aquarius, if you like, this new divine feminine arising. Hey brother Phil and Mary Sykes, how are you here to serve. So any questions, any comments, any concerns, I'm willing to speak to that. I am going to attempt to scroll down here because I did put a little notification on. Yeah, here I was doing headstand in lotus. I don't do that anymore. That was a few years ago now, probably 5 years ago, to be honest. That was the last time I did that posture. That was probably the last time I did that posture. That is not part of my daily routine. No. Not that it's impossible, and not that it's even that hard, but it's not something I practice anymore. It's good. It's a good party trick, but it's not really what I need to do to maintain my body to stay healthy, and that's pretty much where my yoga practice is today. What most benefits me. Let's do those postures. Not what do I want to get good at, but what most benefits me. And that's pretty much the attitude I take to life. Right? No longer trying to succeed, no longer trying to get it right, no longer trying to be what I should in a perception of what I think others think that I should be. Yeah, you're welcome, Mary. It doesn't really help because they're just labels, right? 3D, 5D, and it creates contraction around, a comparison. As I said, I think in our live stream on Saturday in my, transformation empowerment support community, did I say it there or did I say it somewhere else? might have actually been in a private session, I can't remember now, but I've said it somewhere that while I quite often say comparison is the thief of joy, right? When we start comparing ourselves to others or to expectations, we lose a lot of our own joy. But also on the other side of the thing, comparison is also the tool of awareness that helps us find appreciation, right? Because if we flip our perspective of the comparison, right, we can help inspire ourselves. Envy doesn't need to be a bad thing, right? Envy can be very motivational if we take it with an empowered attitude, right? If we look out in the world with an awareness and see things that we like and compare what we've got now to what we're liking, rather than going into lack mentality, oh, I don't have enough, look, they've got more. If we go, wow, look what's possible, look what they've got, and inspire yourself to create something like that or something better than that, just through the act of comparison, you have now created an appreciation of what's possible and set your goals or your focus on achieving that. And that is how we inspire each other to keep growing. So while comparison can be the thief of joy, it can also be an awesome foundation to finding appreciation, and it can be also an awesome motivational tool to help us grow into a more expansive expression of ourselves. So like everything, there's pros and cons with every experience and with every energy. Things aren't right and wrong. Comparison is not wrong. Expectations are not wrong. We can use expectations in either direction. Hey, Sister Kay. Oh, I missed that. Should I open it down here? I've got a few things written here that I'm going to read as well from the post I put on last night, which was me doing the headstand in the lotus. Hi, Matt. What's the most quick way to protect yourself from negative energy in work and home events? Can come from all angles unexpectedly. Thanks. I would rephrase, the best way to protect yourself from negativity is to rephrase the idea that you need to protect yourself from it. Right? I get it. None of us want to feel quote unquote negativity. But when you get out of the idea that feeling and the negative energy is a wrongness and that you need to protect yourself from it, then you no longer need to protect yourself from it, because you now just have this attitude that I am the light, I am my version of positivity, and while I might feel negative energy coming from the external world, it's not stronger than me, and I don't need to protect myself against it. The fact that I'm experiencing it now is an opportunity. It's not a wrongness. This hasn't come in as a mistake. This hasn't come in as an attack. This hasn't come in as bad luck, right? This isn't me. This isn't my life being degraded right now that I'm feeling this negative energy. This is me getting an opportunity, because quite often the reason that the negative energy carries a charge, that you react to the negative energy, is because it has triggered something inside of you, right? Because if you are not somehow in alignment or affiliated, that's a good word to use in this context. If you're not so much affiliated with that negative energy, then you'll be aware of it, but it won't upset you. So the fact that you feel that you need to protect yourself against it is pretty much an indication that it has triggered something inside of you that is wanting to arise to be processed and released. So the more that you can see negative energy, someone else who is like, someone comes into your space and you can see that they're dark. Can you hold compassion for them? Great, if you can, and just, it doesn't mean you need to hang out with them all of the time. You don't need to protect yourself against them, but if you stay strong in yourself and have empathy for them, not pity on them, not sympathy for them, not falling into, oh, how can I help them if they don't want to be helped, right? But if you can see them for what they are, they're carrying a strong negative energy and they're in your space and you can feel it radiating towards you, all you really need to do is be love. And be compassionate and be accepting that their history has left them with this negative vibe. You don't need to protect yourself from it, because it's not going to hurt you unless you align with it. You have a choice. You have a choice point whether you align with their negativity. One of the ways that we subversively align ourselves with energy is judge it as wrong and then try and fight against it. In doing so, we're focused on it, and what you focus, you feed, and what you feed will grow stronger. So if you notice someone is negative and then think that they're wrong and then try and protect yourself against them or try and fix them or try and solve it or even try and avoid it, you basically align with it. If you take the same awareness into that situation, someone who is carrying a strong quote unquote, and it's quote unquote negative because it's all relative. To someone else, they might be quite positive, right? But to you, from a reference of where your energy is, their energy appears negative, right? We have to remember that none of these awarenesses are absolute, right? Your positivity is not positive full stop, it's just positive to you. Their negativity is not negative full stop, it's just negative in comparison to your positivity, right, from your perception, which is completely fine, right? You don't need to be in this total neutrality where you don't label anything anymore at all, right? But you just have to remember the awareness of that. So once you are aware that someone is drawing on your positivity, you just become more of your positivity. You don't need to protect because you're an infinite source, right? We're all infinite sources, so we don't need to worry about them draining us. That term draining is lack mentality, because if we're infinite, then you can't be drained. You can definitely have an energy flow in their direction, but it's beneficial. It's beneficial for you and it's beneficial for them. So no problem. If you're allowing yourself to get into psychological games with them where they are controlling you to get your energy, that's not so good. But if you are maintaining your center, noticing that they are negative and allowing yourself to flow love to them in no controlling way. So you're not trying to fix them, you're not trying to manipulate them, you're just being yourself so that you enjoy being yourself, and they get to benefit by receiving the love, which they might not enjoy, by the way, but they're benefiting nonetheless, because we don't often enjoy what benefits us. That's the truth. And then there's no problem. There's no problem. So for me, when I experience people who are very negative, I just choose to be more positive. Not toxic positive, not trying to convince them to be positive, not trying to fix them. I just choose to be more of myself, more of my own light, more bright. So I allow myself to shine my love out in compassion and empathy for the fact that they are carrying some wounds that is affecting their energy field and presenting in what we might call negative. Hopefully that helps, not just for Kay, but for everyone, right? Because it's very, very, very common here in spirituality and all the rest of it. We think we need to protect ourselves against this negativity, and then we try and put up walls and we put up a mirror and shine it back at them, sort of thing. It's just like missing the point. You don't need to protect yourself because you're an infinite supply, an infinite source of love and light. So you just allow it to shine out, and in shining it out, you basically buffer yourself against their negativity. You can still be aware of it, but it's no longer affecting you because you're not sponging it up. When you go into lack mentality, you become much more like a sponge, and we want to be more like a beacon, more in the abundance of who we be, and so we shine out bright, and thus we brighten everything around us. And our life seems much better when we're choosing just to be an infinite source of light than thinking that we have to protect our energy and have to hide and put up walls and do all this stuff. Okay, so the post I put on last night was, when we choose to view the world from a different perspective, our world appears differently. So another post I put on some time ago was, the pessimist is rarely disappointed, right? And I get it. The world teaches us to be somewhat pessimistic to protect ourselves, right? We're told from our parents to minimize our expectations so we don't get disappointed, because disappointment hurts, and our parents are trying to protect us from the pain of disappointment. So we diminish our expectations, right? And quite often that leads to start getting more pessimistic. I remember when I was a teenager and people would accuse me of being a little bit pessimistic, I'd say, no, I'm a realist, right? And really, I was creating a pessimistic world. That was my reality. So I was being a realist because I expected things to be, on the deeper side, right? Lower expectations in the form of realism help protect me from feeling hurt when things didn't play out the way that I might like them to, right? Those higher expectations. So if you diminish your expectations, you don't get disappointed as much. You're expecting it to go wrong. So when it goes wrong, you actually feel a little bit of satisfaction that you predicted it right. Unfortunately, that is a very, very negative spiral, very, very contracting spiral that can help you intellectually feel, you know, that you're on top of the world and you've got some satisfaction that you can predict things accurately, but you're basically creating what you are predicting, in it all being, you know, safe, as Mary just said, playing it safe, and underwhelming, right? You predicted an underwhelming experience and then it came underwhelming, and then you felt quite satisfied that you knew it was going to be that way. Oh, it never works out for me. It's okay. It never works out for me. That's all right. I can predict that. I don't get my hopes up, therefore I don't get hurt. Yeah, it's not really a great life. So to break out of that and be willing to risk disappointment, right? Be willing to expand our perception of the world and start to truly believe that great things, miraculous things, expansive things are possible. Not just possible, but more and more probable as you start to choose to align with it. Yes, you will get disappointed, and yes, those disappointments may well feel painful, but it's worth it, right? As Peter Garrett, the lead singer of Midnight Oil, a band I used to listen to through that same period of time, used to, in one of the lyrics to Power and the Passion, it's better to die on your feet than to live on your knees, right? Better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. We have to be willing. We have to be willing to give it a go. Otherwise, we will get exactly what we expect, which is mediocre. Anyway, getting to these questions. Debbie from New Zealand, good friend, said, can you share more about your monthly subscription group, please? I put the link in there. I'm not quite sure what else you want me to share. Basically, it's an energetic community. Well, it's an online community that I deliver a bunch of stuff to, beyond this that I do every week to the broader community. I do another one of these, longer and a little bit more in-depth, specifically to that group every week. I do a meditation with light language, a 30-minute call every week. We do a topic every month and have a topic call for about 90 minutes or so, usually a little bit longer, where I talk for an hour or so on the topic, channeled discussion on the topic, and then do light language for 30 minutes on that topic towards the start of the month. And then halfway through the month, we do a Q&A call where we answer any questions that anyone might have, specifically on the phones, so that they can actually express themselves, not just like this with me talking to a typed in request. I can actually tune into people's energy and help shift stuff for them, again with light language and all the rest of it. And I hold a very strong, energetic, supportive space for the people in that group. So it's a stronger container. Yeah, so as Jane said, and it's nurturing and supportive and fun. And there's a private Facebook group that goes with that, where the members of that group can interact and support and inspire each other, and bring their gifts more and more to the fore. Right, people are encouraged to share what they're doing and you know, offer exchange sessions and do all that sort of stuff. It's not, you know, I'm not one of these group leaders that try and keep everyone under control and doing it Mantara's way. I'm very, very happy to support diversity and to empower everyone to be their best selves. So that's the group. It's about, well, it is $33 New Zealand per month. The first month is only $1 as a trial. There's no obligation to stay any longer, and you can just use that link and click on it, and I'll put it again, that link, in the description above this video after it finishes. Yeah, you can check it out and see it's all written down there. There's quite a nice sales page. It took me quite a while to do. So there is a sales page for that, and you can read through that and make a choice and come along and try it out. Thank you, Mary. Takes one to know one. So Sam wrote, I love this post. Feels so timely. This is the post about me doing a headstand in Lotus. In the past 24 hours, I have started to think about the concept of release from a different perspective. Instead of just releasing crap, I'm choosing to remember that release can also be about removing shackles that bind us. With this in mind, I am choosing to allow this full moon to untie me from the self-imposed restrictions and responsibilities I have a tendency to get wrapped up in. And, you know, I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that a lot, because I too have been trying to redefine release, that it's not just letting go of some dense energy, that it is actually releasing the belief you have more than anything around the energy that you are feeling. So a lot of people think that if they're going to release an energy, it's actually going to come out of them and go away. And what really happens in the releasing process is you release your your definition of the energy. You release your relationship to that negative energy, and thus it can transmute. So you don't actually have to let go of the energy itself. It just changes its form when you change your perspective of it, right? So releasing an old pain from the past basically happens when you forgive the situation that created the pain. The pain doesn't actually leave your body, it just ceases to become pain anymore, and now the energy itself transmutes into something else. It becomes the wisdom of the experience rather than the pain that you're carrying in the thinking that the experience was a wrongness and that you got wronged and you got hurt and you need to get validation and retribution and or whatever, right? You've been wounded and it needs to be healed, right? Even having the perception that you're wounded and it needs to be healed creates a narrative that holds you into this perception that how is my healing going to happen? Until you come to a mentality that, oh, my healing has just happened, it's very hard for the healing to actually happen, right? It's very hard for the wound to soften and release if you think you need to be healed and now you're wondering what healing looks like. If you can let go of that narrative, if you can release that narrative, then the wound itself ceases to become a wound because you cease to label it as a wound, and it's just now an energy, and that energy can transform quite easily when you take away the expectation that you're damaged and you need to do something miraculous to become fixed, right? You're welcome, Mary. I'm glad it's making sense to you, because I know we've had discussions about what release. I remember once I asked you, what do you think release is, and you described it as what it feels like when you go to the toilet, which I thought was quite funny at the time, but yeah, awesome. I'd like to stop believing in the boogeyman, said Mary. Yeah, so it's a choice, right? And the place to start, I guess, is for you to spend time inquiring into what the boogeyman is to you. Is to allow yourself to have a little bit of intellectualization around that, and then to allow that intellectualization to subside somewhat and give yourself space to get some deeper insight into the fact that it's a belief, right? So to start with, I would encourage you to do a little bit of meditation and then to journal what is the boogeyman and start writing down. Let yourself write it down from what you want to express, from your little self, your inner child, expressing what you think this bad thing is out there in the world that's trying to get you. So when you start expressing all of that, allow yourself to write it all down. You might want to burn it afterwards or something, read it through it and burn it. But allow yourself to really express that, and then spend a few more days, weeks, months allowing yourself to meditate on the reality of what the boogeyman is. Because from my understanding, it's a belief system, right? It's a belief system. It's a perspective. It's the idea that the world is basically dangerous rather than the fact that the world is actually an opportunity. It's actually a loving, caring place, a sandpit in which you get to express yourself fully. And there is no real boogeyman other than the one that's been programmed. So, but it's all very well for me to say that. You need to work through the process of allowing yourself to express stuff that you haven't felt that it's appropriate to express. Yeah. So it's a program that inside it, there's some darkness inside of you that's dangerous, right? That you are a sinner. It's coming back to that old one that, that you're a sinner, and unless you stay on guard, you're going to allow your evilness to come out, and that will unplease God, and then you will go to hell. So understand that that's a program. So allow yourself to journal and express, and to really bring all of that programming up to the surface so that you can recognize it for what it is, and let the light of your being shine on those narratives so that you can more easily release them. So yeah, was it 22, 2 ducks on a pond? Mary said bingo. 88, 2 fat ladies. No, I have been to bingo back in the day. God, that would have been the 80s. Anyway, probably with my grandparents at the nursing home. Retirement village more than a nursing home. But anyway, yeah, so awesome. So this moon this full moon that's coming tonight is an awesome time to do this work. Do this work, that's a terrible thing to say. It's an awesome time to allow these intentions to flow more fully. It's a time to really allow the structures and the hierarchy and the rules and the beliefs that we are carrying inside of ourselves to soften and disintegrate. The intensity of this moon is an awesome time to allow transformation to occur in more expansive ways, more beneficial ways. So exactly what I've been talking about, based on Sam's input there. This is an awesome time to untie yourself from those self-imposed restrictions and responsibilities that have formed this idea of release, right? So that you can basically just soften into the process. Christina added on, release from fears too. They have risen recently for me after so long of being fear-free, but rising to release. Let them go with grace and gratitude. Yeah, and so this is a great point too. This idea of fear-free. I don't think anyone is fear-free. We go through periods of life where fear doesn't influence us so much because we're riding in our positivity and we're basically keeping the fears hidden. True empowerment and true confidence doesn't need to keep the fears hidden. So we are no longer, we don't need to stay fear-free when we're in true authentic confidence. We can allow fears to arise whenever they naturally arise, and it doesn't overly influence us because we recognize them for what they are. Fragments of pain and trauma from the past, wanting to express themselves, trying to keep us safe from a perceived danger, right? Because something happened to us in the past and we've imprinted or implanted that experience as a dangerous experience, as a bad experience, because we didn't enjoy the outcome. It hurt us from a personality perspective. And so we don't want to have that happen again from the personality perspective. And so we try and protect ourselves from that again from the personality perspective. And when we remember all of that, then we no longer fear fear. We can look fear in the face and go, oh, that's just a fear, right? And of course, you know, the sensation of fear when you're in a truly dangerous situation is obviously a very, very valid thing, and it's an important survival tool, and we don't want to diminish that at all. We want that to be very, very strong and a very, very good indicator. We don't want to be numb to that at all. If we feel a pike of fear that something is dangerous, we want to be able to respond to that very quickly without making it wrong. And at the same time, we want to also develop a recognition of the difference between a fear that is valid in this moment and an energy that's arising from the past that feels like fear, but it isn't actually pointing to any particular danger right now, any valid danger right now. You know, a lot of the time we feel fear when we go to public speak, for example. Hello, Brother Lewis. Many of us feel fearful of that. And are we really in danger in going to public speak now? Not so much physically, but the problem is, or the issue is, or the reality is that in the past, much of our public speaking experience was very dangerous. Quite often, many of us have memories from the past where our biggest public speaking event was our trial. Unfortunately, we were being tried for being something, a heretic or a this or a that, right? And we were having to defend ourselves, and it quite often didn't go so well. So when we get up in a group of people, it triggers a memory in us that last time or another time that we did this, it didn't go very well, right? Because we didn't manage to defend ourselves, and then we got sentenced and punished. So that's why many of us are scared of public speaking. Many of us are scared of speaking in front of a group of people because it feels like an inquisition. So, and we're being judged, and we know what comes after judgment, right? Sentencing and punishment. And some of that punishment has been pretty brutal in the past. So with that recognition that, oh, I'm about to do some public speaking and I feel all this fear arising, is that fear valid right now? And with that understanding, oh, the fear isn't so valid right now, I'm not going to get tried and punished. I can breathe my way through the experience of the fear. I don't need to make myself stupid for feeling the fear. I don't need to make the fear wrong. It's not like, oh, it's stupid feeling this fear, there's no danger here. No, the fear is coming up to try and protect you, but it's trying to protect you from something that happened in the past that's not necessarily going to happen right now. And from the aspect of you that's trying to protect yourself, it doesn't understand that. So with compassion, we go, it's okay This is not dangerous anymore. I know we had an experience in the past that was dangerous doing this, but right now this is not dangerous. And we do some deep breathing to help us release the stress that has been triggered through the intensity of the fear that arose, because we're now looking for danger and we're now, palms are sweating and we've gone into the stress state where the blood is rushing out of all of our organs. It's rushing out of our frontal lobes. It's going into the reaction phase where we're ready to fight or run for our safety, right? That's right, irrational fears. So, exactly right. Irrational fears are just left over from our past, and our job is to love them through the process of release. Which doesn't mean the fear itself leaves. It just means the attitude to the fear changes, right? So we now see this fear as a quaint little reminder that we've had a hard past. Oh, that's right. I've been persecuted in the past, but it's not happening now. Right? And we move on and we remember that we do have a past and we honor that past, but we don't become our past. We don't let our past overly influence how we're choosing to respond to the world right now. My friends, any more? I think that's answered what was written in ahead of time. And hopefully I didn't. Yes, exactly. I feel fears are just layers of our shadow self that show up to be healed once and for all. Yeah, I would just soften on the once and for all bit, Lewis, because in my experience, not wanting to be overly disappointed, once and for all is kind of a little bit, I'm prepared to keep healing layers and layers of my shadow for as long as it takes, and I'm not too contracted around getting rid of it, because I've let go. What's helped me a lot to be happier in this world is to let go of the idea that I need completion in order to be healed, in order to attain a state where I can be happy. I don't need to be healed I don't need to be complete with my healing journey before I am functional, before I can be happy, before I can feel purposeful on the planet, before I can experience every joy that's available. I don't need to be healed from all of my traumas or pains or wounds or fears or whatever. I can embrace the healing process in conjunction with reaching for the stars and being my most expansive, expressive self in great deal of happiness and joy. There is no completion to happiness and joy. There's no completion to purpose. There's no completion to healed. And there's, it's all just an experience. And exactly, staying teachable is very important, and staying humble is, not important from the state of being you'll be judged as proud. Otherwise, I'm fucking proud of myself as well. And at the same time, I have a degree of humility in that pride. It's taken me a long time to be able to bring that pride to the surface. That recognition that I actually have come a long way. Recognition that I actually am helping people. Recognition that I actually am climbing out of the depths of despair and feeling hopeless, useless, worthless. I'm proud of how far I've come, and yet I'm humble enough to know that I still have a long way to go. And that doesn't diminish who I am right now. It doesn't diminish how much I can share. It doesn't diminish how much I can benefit others. It doesn't diminish how happy I can be in this moment, knowing that I still have a long way to go. That in no way is a burden on me. The knowledge that I'll be healing for the rest of my life and beyond. Right? That is no way a burden on me. I don't resent that anymore. I used to pray that my healing journey would be finished so that then I could be happy, then life could be easy. I used to want nothing more than an easy life. Why can't I just have enough money? I don't mind going to work as long as I just have enough money that I don't need to be stressed about money. You never get to that phase. You can always be stressed about money. The point is, when am I going to choose to stop being stressed about money, and then I can have enough money, right? That's the point. We have to put the horse before the cart. So find your happiness right now, and find a level of contentment and allowance and acceptance of the process that we're all going through. We are all going through a healing process, and it will go on forever, and it's not a big problem. Yeah, exactly. It keeps showing up again and again, but we're always better prepared. We keep making progress, And yet there's always something that comes up at some stage in my experience, Lou, that's more intense than anything else we've experienced. And again, we find ourselves in the state of overwhelm. And that's, again, it's not a wrongness. That is just us up leveling. So don't expect yourself to get to a state where all of your problems are more easily solved, because you'll always get a new problem that comes along that challenges you again, that brings up a new level of emotional instability, or a new level of overwhelm mentally, or a new level of physical discomfort. That's just normal. The point to remember, though, and the point to appreciate, is the problems that you once thought were too much for you, you can now easily move through, but yet you seem to be attracting harder problems now. A lot of people think that that's a big wrongness, but for me, that's just an indication that we're making great progress. Sorry, the lighting has gone completely out the window as the sun's decided to shine through that tree on me. Anywho, my friends, I've pretty much done, or I have more than done, my half-hour chat with Matt today. I'm going to leave you looking rather spooky, a little bit alien-like, but there you go. Can't control everything. I should have pulled the blind down on the door a little bit further, but never mind. Much love. I will speak to you again tonight. Those that choose to join, it's starting at 10:30 p.m. New Zealand time. That will be 8:30 p.m. on the eastern seaboard of Australia. That will be 11:30 a.m. tomorrow morning in the UK, 12:30 p.m. Central European time. East coast of America, it is happening at, hopefully I get this right, starting at 6:30 a.m. I think, and then you can work back from there. Central time's 5:30. Unfortunately for the Pacific coast, it's 3:30 a.m. I can't control when the moon goes full and when it becomes an eclipse. If you are in Pacific time at 3:30 a.m., you might want to get up, and if you've got clear skies, you will see on the western horizon, as the moon is setting, it will go blood red. It is definitely a sight to behold. For me here in New Zealand, it will be directly overhead, and I am hoping that we maintain clear skies as we did last night. I was up at 5:30 this morning dropping my son at the train station so he could go to work and didn't have to ride in the freezing cold, because it was freezing cold this morning. And the moon, she was shining pretty bright, because we've got a super moon as well. So that means the moon is closer to Earth than it normally is, right? It has this elliptical orbit. So it just so happens that this eclipse is happening on a full moon where the moon is closer to Earth than its average. So it's a little bit bigger and a little bit brighter and a little bit more intense. And so, yeah, don't be surprised if it's been a little bit intense for you emotionally and potentially mentally, energetically over the last couple of days. And it will probably continue to be a little bit intense for at least the next 24 hours. And then we'll find that intensity sort of smooths off as we move into the tail end side of the full moon eclipse experience that's happening in about 13 hours or so. Anyway, my friends, much love. If you can't make it to the time that I'm doing it live, then please feel free to listen to the replay. It is still just as valid. I do these events in the intensity of the exact event, so that the energy of the exact event is recorded in the transmission, and then you can listen to that at any time, because it is all happening now when you choose to listen to it. So don't feel bummed out if you can't make it live to anything. Just choose to maintain empowered belief that you're not missing out, and you can listen to the replay. You can get just as much benefit from that if you choose to believe that you can get just as much benefit from that. Anyway, my friends, much love. Namaste. I will speak to you again soon. Bye for now.